Welcome back to MMA Al Dente. I'm your host, Johnny Come Lately, and I'm here to talk about UFC 311's new main event, Islam Makhachev defending his lightweight championship against Renato Money Moicano Carnero. Huge credit to both guys for making this happen. I mean, Islam gets a little more credit, I guess, because he's putting it all on the line. But both guys, this takes major balls. Even though Moicano can win the world with a victory here, he's still fighting the best guy on the planet on a few hours' notice. But as much as I'd love for Moicano to win, and I would fucking love for it to happen, I am predicting Islam Makhachev wins. My prediction is he wins by TKO. And I say TKO because I'm cheap like that and it covers the ground and pound finish. But really, the fight I'm envisioning is a standing knockout. I think Islam Makhachev has every advantage I gave to Beneil Dariush in this fight. And I was predicting Beneil Dariush would beat Moicano, by the way. I was predicting he'd win by decision, although, of course, I gave a shot at knockout. But I think here it's more likely that Islam would close the show with a knockout. Islam Makhachev isn't exactly Mr. Knockout. He's actually Mr. Submission, and I'll address that in a second. But I just think here, stylistically, with the jiu-jitsu of Renato Moicano, who I'm not saying can't be submitted. He's been submitted by Brian Ortega with that third round guillotine, which is a fucking as deadly as a submission can get. Third round Ortega, but that's an opportunistic thing. I don't remember anybody ever cutting through the guard of Moicano and advancing on him. I'm sure Islam can do it. He's the guy that arm triangle choked Charles Oliveira, of course. But I just think Moicano's jiu-jitsu makes the knockout more likely for Islam Makhachev. Islam Makhachev, he's produced a few knockouts here and there, way back against T-Bow, and of course recently against Volkanovski. He also dropped Charles Oliveira. But I just think he's got advantages on the feet. Every advantage I gave to Beneil Dariush, his physicality and strength, and also his knockout power, I would give to Islam Makhachev. But I'd also give him more of a speed advantage. He's got athleticism on his side. I think he'll be beating Moicano to the punch. His technical striking is coming along, and I think he's going to bring a lot of problems for Moicano. Moicano, he's like I say in every video, an underrated kickboxer, really solid. But I think here again, he's going to be being beaten to the punch and he's going to be reliant on timely counters. And speaking of which, I think in order for him to win any fight, submission, decision, or knockout against Islam Makhachev, he's got to clip him. Certainly, he's got to clip him to knock him out. What do you think about that analysis here? But yeah, he's got to clip him, I think, to get the ball rolling. I think Moicano has good takedown skills, but it takes great takedown skills and great wrestling to get Islam down. Moicano is not Arman Sarukian. He's tricky and he's longer and he's got good takedowns. But even if he was to hit him, I think he would have to have Islam hurt to make something work once he got him on the ground. Moicano's a monster on top, but Islam is stronger physically again, but he's also strong technically, incredibly strong. And I don't think he'd give Moicano a lot to work with. Even if Moicano had his way early in round one, like he did with Benoit Saint Denis. And on the feet, look, Moicano, he's been knocked out a bunch. The only guy to knock him out at lightweight was Rafael Fiziev a few years ago, 5 years ago, whatever it was. But he's still been clipped a bunch. He's been clipped even at lightweight. Rafael Dos Anjos, Jalen Turner, Drew Dober. And where he had an answer for these guys, these other lightweights, by being able to take them down. Drew Dober had him clipped, and he was able to take him down and take that danger out of the equation right away. I don't think he's going to be able to do that against Islam Makhachev. Certainly, if he's halfway clipped or whatever, I don't think a desperation takedown is going to work on Islam. Again, he's too strong physically and technically. And I think theoretically that removes a whole world of offense from Moicano and makes it very difficult for him to win this fight. Again, I think he's got to clip him to get the ball rolling. Moicano has clipped people, but he's never knocked anybody out. He doesn't have that stopping power for me to give him the X factor that I'd like for him to have against Islam Makhachev. Of course, he could get his first knockout when all the marbles are for all the marbles, when all the chips are on the line. But I don't know why I'm going back and forth between marbles and chips here. I don't even know what the fuck I'm talking about. But I still think that's the best chance of him winning. Islam Makhachev was beaten once, and he was knocked out by Adriano Martins, who's more dangerous than Moicano, certainly. But I think that's the way it's going to happen if it's going to happen. You know, as good as Moicano is, he's got all rear naked choke victories, 10 of them, a dozen of them, whatever it is. He's a monster. That's a whole world of offense that I don't think is available to him against Islam Makhachev. And again, on the feet, I think Moicano is going to be beaten to the punch. And the fight I envision is a knockout for Islam Makhachev. I just said like the same thing 10 times over and over, didn't I? I'll go with Makhachev winning. I'll take him winning by round one knockout, which sounds like he's going to steamroll him, and he might. But of course, I'm not married to round one knockout, even though I've thrown sprinkles on it. That's really what I bet on, is Islam winning by knockout. I think it would happen in the first few rounds of the fight. But kind of hope I'm wrong. I hope Moicano has a good showing here. And really, nothing would make me happier than Moicano winning. Stepping up the way he has on short notice, and with the momentum he's had, talking shit, and, you know, becoming some sort of a star, a figure outside of the octagon. And for him winning here, it would turn him into a superstar, and it would just be one of the greatest victories ever. Well, you know, and of course, Islam Makhachev is one of the greatest fighters ever. So even a disqualification victory would mean a lot, let alone an actual victory. So yeah, I'm rooting for Moicano, but I'm predicting Islam wins, and no heavy bets because he's such a big favorite. But I think knockout is much more likely, and the odds makers in the betting public think otherwise. So I am betting on him winning by knockout. Like, share, subscribe, all that horse shit. Check out my other videos and enjoy the fights.